views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of the producers, network, or sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
In this podcast session, we're going to be talking about the effects of screen time in child development. So I don't know if they could call this a pandemic. Kasi pag pandemic, when you talk about pandemic, it's usually viral, it's viruses, it's bacteria, bad bacteria that spread around all the world. But what do you call like a thing that's spread all over the world that affects children? Okay, it's not viral, it's sort of like it affects their mental capacity and their development as children. So a very big topic that we need to discuss here is children these days, even children in the past 5-10 years, we would say.
Yeah.
When was the first tablet or iPad? When was the iPad launched? Do you have any idea?
No, maybe a few years ago, 10 years ago. Matagal na.
All right, I found it here, January 27, 2010. So we
2010.
are 15 years into the technology of iPads,
Yeah.
but not tablets. Tablets has been around for a very long time. They started it. Steve Jobs just made the iPad way more user-friendly, just like as in any Apple product. Okay, and then it was just a start of, in 2010. Now, the reason why this is so significant because the iPad was so user-friendly that everyone started developing games on it.
Yeah.
And then somehow, like we have creators who started creating like shows for children. Hence, they have developed the name for children who are on iPads every day. They call them the iPad children. You know, kasi lagi sila nasa iPad eh. Until now. Actually, ngayon, hindi lang iPad, we're on any smartphone, right? So I don't know what you call that. Is it a pandemic of things happening? Because apparently it's affecting children all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, and so I see, because I have two kids. All right, so they're still kids. One's 3 and one is almost 7. Okay, and you know, we see their classmates at school, right? Even during an activity, or we see our friends and their kids. We see a lot of these parents outside when we eat in a restaurant na when they have a child with them, number one, binibigay nila yung phone.
Yeah.
Right? Yung phone or yung tablet, or bawat bata may sariling iPad, right? And apparently there's a very, very, very big effect on their children's development. It doesn't affect every children, but most children, let's say, I'm saying, I don't know the stats worldwide, but based on our circle of friends, I think it affects at least 95% of the children around us. One thing that I've seen firsthand, okay, I didn't have to do any research with this, firsthand is child development, like in 2 years old, they sort of have delays in learning stuff.
That's true.
They can't communicate properly, or they still don't know how to communicate their emotions, or even say simple words like I want to go to the bathroom, right? Or hungry. You know, there's a huge delay. And one particular, there's a large case of children using phones or iPads since birth. They actually lead to certain levels of autism. So I think when in autism, I think there are 3 levels of autism. Based on what our doctors has, I have friends who are doctors who are in child development. So there are 3 levels of autism. Like the first is like sort of like the light one, and there's like light, medium, and high.
Yeah.
Or those are severeness, right? So like level 1 is just
Mild case lang. It's not
very
too
mild.
much. Yeah, very
not
mild.
too much. The children or adults, they're functional. they're like you and me, but they have certain habits.
Yeah.
Like they like to be alone or they're introvert, but they could communicate. They're functional. They could do things. Level two is a bit they're sort of hard up in coping with like society, and they could still function, but they would rather stay alone. They're more introverts. They would rather do things on their own time or their own comfort. Level three is just
There's a barrier na. Yeah.
not only that there's a barrier, they can't even function. They can't eat by themselves. They can't go to the a washroom by themselves. So they need assistance from someone. Like they need to be like in sort of a special care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are have you experienced any of this like around like Gen Zs? Like
Yeah. Actually, growing up, I was somehow like an iPad kid. So from what you said earlier, having an iPad is something like a part of your hand already for a kid. So being an iPad kid, for example, I'm just eating, and then I need to have an iPad screen here on the left side so I can eat while watching. So it's kind of something like a mannerism na, because I can't eat without watching something. I can't do something without watching or without this iPad na naka-open there. So I may not know the specific age when I was like that, but until now, there are some situations na I still have it. So it's this behavior na I developed where, alam mo yun, I can't do something without holding this phone, without texting, without watching. So it's a physical concern kasi we can't tawag dito, hindi tayo tumitigil sa pagtanda. So basically, the more na we put ourselves in situations na makakasira sa mata natin, it damages our eyes, our basically how we think. It all started when we were kids. Kasi hindi siya natanggal sa daily routine natin na for other cases naman, pag tinatanggal yon, lalo na sa isang tao, nagkakaroon ng tantrums yung bata.
yes, I realized alam niyo yung nakita niyo sa labas sa cafe, sa restaurants, di ba? Pag tinanggal yung iPad or yung phone sa bata, nagwawala,
Grabe, yeah.
right? Not only is it's not a regular tantrum, it's they really scream their hearts out na they really need the screen time, especially when they're eating. And the only thing that would pacify them is an iPad or phone.
Yeah.
Now that's very concerning. So some like you said, number one, their attention span is so short. They're very, very, very short. And then number two, they get very aggressive, right? You take something from them, it's like candy,
Yeah.
di ba?
That's
Yung bata pag kinuha mo yung mga candies nila, yung mga sweets, first malulungkot yan, pangalawa magagalit yan.
Yeah.
Right? So to all the parents out there, young parents or even old parents, kung baby pa lang yung mga anak nyo, I think what was suggested from therapists and doctors, limit it to 30 minutes a day, which is too short, But in other cases, pag medyo severe na, o hindi naman severe, pag kasi may delay in child development, tanggalin yung screen time totally. That's what we did actually, And then based on personal experience, like my daughter, we were kind of worried. That's why we had her checked up and everything. She's fine right now.
Yeah.
But we were wondering, like, she was almost 2 years old, and we're like, she can't say a single word. She doesn't know how to communicate. She doesn't tell us what she feels or if she's hungry. The doctor suggested just take off screen time totally.
Yeah.
Imagine 2 weeks with no screen time. She started talking to us. 2 weeks. 2
Yeah.
weeks. So imagine how fast she started adapting. First few days she was kind of bored. She was, she had all the tantrums and all that. But imagine in 2 weeks' time, we saw drastic improvements, And we kept it on. Now she's like almost 3. no screen time at all. And now she knows how to sing. She knows how to wake us up. She knows how to tell us if she's hungry. She knows how to
Yeah.
tell us she wants to go to the washroom. And that alone proves enough that, you know, screen time can really affect a child's development.
Yeah.
Especially when they're at a very young age, like from a year old up to, let's say, 5 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 years old. It's very critical that you don't even find a recommendation that you have to show, yeah, give them a chance to do screen time. Like these kids like watch what? Coco Melon,
Cartoons, everything. Yeah.
cartoons, and it's repetitive, it's repetitive. What ano pa yung mga ibang shows? Hindi lang Coco Melon.
Yeah. Maraming cartoons pa rin. They
Yeah,
have on YouTube. Yeah. Animations.
Yeah, and meron naman yung mga educational. But still, screen time yan eh. So like to the parents out there, minimize nyo yung screen time. You'll see a big difference. Siguro sa una, don't say it's too late. Sabihin natin you have a 3 or 4-year-old. Alright, try to limit it in small portion. Let's say kung 24 hours sila nandun, bigyan nyo sila, let them rest for a couple of hours. And then, bawasan nyo, not drastically, but in time, bawasan nyo yung screen time. You'll see how makita nyo yung improvements.
Yeah.
This does not only affect children. Imagine, adult na.
That's the
Ano mangyayari sa'yo kung nag-Netflix ka for 1 week straight? Ano kayo mangyayari sa'yo?
sasakit ulo. Yo.
Di ba?
Yeah.
Di ba? Ay, sa adults pa lang, mabuboard ka na eh. Di ba? You don't feel you're productive. You're gonna feel sluggish. You're gonna
Yeah.
feel very lazy. So how much more kung sa children yan, right? So I'm not talking about children just here in Manila or in the Philippines. I'm talking about children worldwide, right? There's a big, I don't know if you could call it as a pandemic. To me, it's still a pandemic because it affects all children from the time they're born up to, let's say, being a toddler, even teenagers, right?
Yes.
Teenagers, they have to cut down on screen time. I was,
Yeah, basically the word there is, I'm not sure if this is right, but it could be they need a digital detox from from their own devices. It can be from at a young age, teenager and adult. Yeah, it needs regularization, but at the same time, at some point they have to have digital detox.
exactly. And parents should be able to regulate
Yes.
this. It's a responsible of our parents, guardians, and mga kuya, ate, di ba? Kung nakita niyo mga bunso yung kapatid, make sure that they limit the screen time. It's for their own future because eventually, if it affects them too much, it could lead to autism,
Yes.
which is irreversible, right? The moment you get autism, in any three of the levels, either the mild or the just the normal one or the severe one, wala na, no turning back. So as soon as now, like minimize screen time, especially like I know this school for child development. They teach.
Yes.
They try to. It's called child therapy. Okay, so it's a child therapy clinic. Okay, so there are activities. There are kids with autism that go there. There are kids that has kind of slow development, like they can't talk yet, but they don't have any signs of autism. But there are specialized clinics for these types of cases. So I was there one time, and I could still hear parents and like, oh, dyan, bigyan nyo lang ng iPhone yan, or yung iPad, or yung phone para matahimik lang yan. You see that?
Yes.
It starts with us, with the parents and the guardians. So, yeah. So, all right. So we got a minute left. You want to add anything to it?
I think basically I just want to remind again that being able to detox on screen time would be very beneficial not only for children, teenagers, and adults. Yeah.
Okay. Wise words from a Gen Z.